Everything's been going well. It's the best we've ever done up here so far.
So you got 50 laps. You got a bunch of hard chargers around you. Obviously, no chance to stop. You can just stand on the gas and keep going, right?
Well, we got all the big boys here. We just got to hold them off, you know? That's what we got to do.
We'll be watching. Best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Jeff Hessler. And now, let's go to my partner, Paul Page from Indianapolis, Indiana, who's on hand with the number 2 starter. Paul?
Well, Brock, starting on the outside of the front row is Billy the Kid Pouch with over 30 victories this season, over 300 in his career. Starting on the outside, Billy, what's it going to take to get around and get in front?
Well, if we get off on a good start, we'll be lucky. If not, we'll just have to see how the cars handle and see how Jeff's going, maybe lap traffic. I don't know, you know, just a whole bunch of stuff.
All right, so Billy's set to go. Let's go to the inside of the second row and Brock.
From Cornwall, Ontario, up on the St. Lawrence River, Marcel LaFrance. Marcel has finished well here before, but I don't think he's had quite the shot at victory that he's got today. Marcel, you got to be happy about starting so close to the front here.
I'm very excited about it.
I know it's a hard racetrack to pass on, so I would imagine the closer to the front you can start, the better your chances are.
Yes, it's very hard to pass, and you got to have a lot of power to go by those guys, you know. You got to have quite a bit of more power to get by some guys, you know, like if you don't use the track a bit, there's no way to pass because the groove is kind of narrow.
A little narrow. Well, the best of luck. We know you run well.
We thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Now let's go to Paul.
Well, Brock, starting here on the outside of the second row is Brett Hearn. Now, he's definitely been a factor in the past couple of these races. Brett, you got Billy sitting just ahead of you. What do you have to do to get out in front?
Well, these 2 guys are the men, and I don't think they're going to be passed on the straightaway. It's going to be quarter speed and tire wear. It's going to make the difference.
And you're all set to take them?
I believe we're set. Our McCreary tires are somewhat experimental. This is really the first race that we've run with them, but we'll wait and see what happens.
All right. Brett Hearn is all set to go. Let's go over to Brock once again, the inside of the third row.
Well, Paul, starting in the 6th spot is Kenny Tremont from West Sand Lake, New York, in one of the 320 modified cars, a little smaller displacement, a more exotic engine setup. And Kenny, I would imagine you feel pretty good about a 6th place start. You got some quick guys up front, but this is a difficult racetrack to pass on, and I know you want to get it qualified as well as you can.
Well, you know, I think if the car's going well, we'll be able to pass. If it's not going well, we'll have to do the best we can. But, you know, the car's capable. I think we can do it.
Obviously, no chance for a pit stop. You got to guess the right setup and hang on, right?
That's right. Yeah, no pit stop. It's as hard as you can go from the green to checker.
Okay, well, go get him. Best of luck. Paul?
Well, here on the outside of the third row is the 44 car of C.D. Coville. C.D.'s been racing here since 1974. He's got his work cut out for him, though. What do you got to do to get ahead and win this thing?
Go fast and stay smooth.
All right, so C.D. Coville is ready to go. Those are the front runners, but let's now go to the back of the pack where Steve Evans has another story.
Thank you, Paul. You know, all the big names in modified racing are not in the first few rows of this event. Take, for example, car number 125. Doug Hoffman, as big a name as you'll find in this kind of racing, and Doug is starting way at the back of this field. Doug, I know with the motor running, I'm hard to hear. Why are you so far back?
We didn't get a starting spot till last night at Rolling Wheels, so we didn't get to take a time trial run. We're just added to the rear of the field.
Now you're going to be faced with something immediately that the front row doesn't worry about, and that is traffic.
Well, it's gonna be tough to get to the front runners. The car's working pretty good, so. Yeah, Keith, they're interviewing me right now.
Talking on the radio to his crew.
It's going to be tough to get to the front. The front cars are real fast here today, and the track's real fast, but I think we're going to get a shot to run up front.
We'll keep our eye and a camera on you.
Okay.
Okay, guys.
Okay, Steve, let's set the stage here. Maybe 25,000 fans at the New York State Fairgrounds, 37 of the fastest modified drivers in the United States up against this historic 1-mile racetrack. Stay with us. We'll be back for the start.
Brought to you by Dodge. For exciting cars and tough trucks, it's Advantage Dodge. And by Goodyear Wrangler Radials, the tires that will take you just about anywhere.
George 117 in pursuit of request additional backup. You copy? 117. Samson 16, we copy. Goshen 69 on block. Let's get a roadblock.
More police cars throughout America come on Goodyear Eagle radials than any other brand of tires. Why? Because they want it that way.
Attention all units.
Goodyear Eagles. The authorities know, and it's why we say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
All across America, hundreds of thousands of people are coming home to Dodge.
It's my first Dodge. I took a chance, and so far, the car's been great.
It's beautiful, it's sexy, it's fast.
One by one, they're coming home.
The Dodge is going to be a safe car.
They're coming home for quality, safety, performance, and value.
The Dodge had the kind of qualities. They've made improvements.
Welcome home, America. Come see what we're made of.
First car, first love was a Dodge, so went back to it.
Wherever dirt goes, you know it's up to no good, especially when dirt goes for your car. So when it comes to stopping dirt,
Okay.
more people go with Fram. Because no air filter traps more dirt than Fram. It's the #1 way to stop dirt in its tracks.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah.
Fram, the end of the road for dirt.
Interested in joining a fan club? Call 1-900-FUN-ON-TNN to find out how. Hear from your favorite artists and listen in on the exciting events you can participate in. Each call costs 95 cents per minute.
Her name was Brenda Gale Webb, but she became famous as Loretta Lynn, Brenda Lee, or Crystal Gale. Think you know? Call 1-900-FUN-ON-TNN and test your knowledge of country music trivia. You could win great prizes. Each call costs 95 cents per minute.
We're just moments away from the start of the National Auto Supply 358 Championship for modified cars here at the New York State Fairgrounds in Syracuse. I'm Steve Evans along with Paul Page and Brock Yates. And Brock, one thing they're not going to have to worry about today is this track drying out. It's cold and it's damp.
Sure is, Steve. So they'll be able to run this 50 laps here just flat out, not to worry about tire wear or anything other than just hopefully having the right setup with the chassis, because this is a handling racetrack. They're two big, sweeping, and very narrow corners at Syracuse, and if you don't get through them, you're in trouble.
And it's not called the Moody Mile for nothing. This can be a treacherous racetrack, especially over in the Turn 2 area.
Absolutely. It just funnels down into a very narrow back straightaway. And both turns 1 and turns 3 can begin to pothole near the end of a race like this. So handling becomes very important. The racetrack, as we watch them out warming up, getting ready to warm up for the start, the racetrack, and once it gets run in, though, the straights get almost like asphalt. It gets really, really hard.
And one thing you're stuck with is whatever tire and chassis setup you chose, because there's no pit stops at 50 laps. Well, you could pit if you wanted to end up dead last, but you really have to hope that your crew chief guessed right the first time out.
Well, these are pretty sophisticated chassis with a lot of adjustments, coil springs and torsion bars, and unless you get it right, you're in deep trouble, as you say. Earlier, Steve had a look at one of these very sophisticated dirt cars.
There's a condition these modified drivers experience at Syracuse that they don't see on the short tracks. Because of the high speed, there's far more downforce on the automobile, and that tends to make the front end just a little bit light, kind of up in the air and steering a little funny. Ideally, you'd like to keep all of that down pressure for traction and maybe glue the front end down by moving the engine forward. But dirt has a rule that the engine may be no closer to the front axle than 32 inches, and that's measured from the face of the block, again, to that front axle. And already several cars have been disqualified for kind of fudging on that. If the rule were not in place, it would force an awful lot of guys to heavily modify these factory-built cars just to keep up with the Joneses that do it.
By the way, DIRT stands for Drivers Independent Racetracks, and they have very strict rules governing these automobiles as they form up down the back straightaway. As you can see, it's a very narrow little lane down through there, Steve. Not much passing permitted.
The starter, Gaston Salvas, is looking over the field. He's got the green flag. Will he use it as they come out of turn number 4 here at Syracuse?
All right, Jeff Hetzler on the point. 3 late starters in behind Doug Hoffman at the back of the pack. We've got a green flag.
And it is 74, Jeff Hetzler. He has got the lead, and he's going to take that down into turn number 1. There's no pacing yourself, no strategy. It is a stand-on-it 50-lap affair here in Syracuse.
But look at this. That is the 6 car of Brett Hearn, who's charged right up behind Hetzler. He moved up past Billy Pouch, and he's challenging for the lead. straightaway. The red and white 6 car noses underneath Hetzler. Hetzler almost loses the 74 as they sweep into turn number 3. Trouble.
That is Doug Hoffman, the man we talked to, starting towards the back of the pack, and he has made contact with another vehicle and has suffered some severe damage to his race car. And Doug Hoffman may be out of this thing.
The 406 automobile of Rich Ritchie Jr. also up against the inside fence over there on turn 2. As the caution flag waves, the field comes down to idling speed, and the dirt crewman check over. There's Hoffman's car in the foreground. He's still in the automobile. He may be trying to restart, Steve.
Well, here's a third driver that took a hit. This is the 10J car of Eddie Hainett. He is in the pits, unlike the rest of them. He's at least stranded out on the racetrack, and his crew can start trying to bend this thing back into shape. We talked earlier about how tricky turn 2 is, and that's where this incident happened, at the back of the pack.
All right, there you see Hoffman's white car right behind the red M6 of Marty Knoll. He is moving up now on the 10J of Eddie Hainett. And on the outside there, that is the T23 of Mark Lalonde. He kind of goes right through and nicks the right rear tire of the 10J of Hainett. That just spins him sideways. He goes out and tags the outside wall here at Syracuse pretty hard. Does a 360, tears up the bodywork big time, and comes to a halt. So Hoffman was very lucky he didn't get tagged by somebody else behind him.
Well, Brock, I think he did take a little shot in the rear from this man, Rich Ritchie Jr. in the 406 car. We can see the front end damage there. His helmet is off, and now debating whether to try to get that car back into the restart.
Oh, I would doubt that that's going to work. As we see, this sure isn't. That's Hoffman's car, the 125, and as you can see, the body damage is pretty substantial. This is all sheet metal. These are not fiberglass cars, so I'm afraid they aren't going to straighten that one out. That's terminal body damage.
Now, the man who started on the pole, Jeff Hetzler in the 74 car, he's on pit row, getting a right rear. He will now go to the very back of the pack. He'll know what Doug Hoffman felt like here in a minute.
Very possible that Hetzler cut down a tire as he went through the debris out there on turn number 2 caused by the Hoffman crash. So a lot of consequences on this opening lap. Barely just a few hundred yards into the race, and we have a caution flag. As Hetzler gets back underway, he will now assume the role of Doug Hoffman's as the man at the back of the pack with a very fast automobile forced to poke his way through the field. Now, Steve Evans has made his way down into the pit area to have a chat with Doug Hoffman and find out exactly what happened.
Well, Doug, when we talked just before you rolled out, you said, boy, it's going to be tough to get to the front. It turned out to be an impossibility.
Well, there was a lot of traffic out there, and I figured if I'm going to get to the front, I'm going to have to charge hard, and I ended up trying to get between 2 cars coming off of 2, and the guy in the inside lane decided to move out when I was next to him there, and it just sent me into the wall. And it's just one of them things, you know, he didn't mean to do it, but it happened, and it just cost us a shot at winning the race.
And you knew the risk at making that kind of a move that early?
Well, turn 2 is one of the toughest part of the tracks to get through. It's real narrow back there, but there was a lot of slow cars in the back, and I wanted to get through them and get up front as quick as possible. You got to get going before everybody gets going, you know?
We're going to see you later on in the day.
Yeah, we'll be out for the Winners Classic with the modified.
Better luck then.
All right, a real professional, very philosophical about these things, and with all the racing miles like a man like Doug Hoffman has under his seat, you just have to expect that as part of the price of doing business. We'll be back for the restart here at Syracuse, New York, right after this.
Is this really how you want to spend your weekend after weekend after weekend? Now, there's Ari, the space-age polymer you can apply wet. Smoothly on, smoothly off. Just look at that Ari shine. One application lasts an entire year. You'd never do this to your car, but with Ari, those burn marks just wipe away. Careful, that's deadly hydrochloric acid eating right through that piece of metal. Yet with Ari on the job, it can't harm your car. Ari contains non-stick DuPont Teflon. It protects your cookware. Now it protects your car. Without it, this enamel spray paint might be there forever, but with Ari protection, it just whisks away in seconds. It cleans months of neglect off your chrome and gives you a bumper-to-bumper shine in only 20 minutes. This car is straight from the junkyard, but Ari restores that showroom finish. No car is too old for Ari. Use it on your camper, use it on fiberglass boats, and use it in your home to remove grease and grime from appliances. It cleans your mirrors, protects your furniture, polishes your brass, and prevents mold and mildew on bathroom tiles. Why spend a fortune for these things? Ari does it all. One bottle is enough for 4 cars. But on Amazing Discoveries, you get 2 bottles, plus this special bonus, Ari Shine. It restores your dashboard and upholstery, cleans your tires, and even protects your personal things. But there's still more. You also get this amazing chamois that soaks up to 10 times its weight in liquids. Spill on your carpet? Don't worry, it's not ruined. Just watch the amazing chamois come to the rescue. Press down a few times and the stain is gone. You get not 1, but 2 bottles of Ari. You get the Ari Shine and you get the chamois. It's an $80 value for only $29.95. Here's how to order. To order Ari for only $29.95, call toll-free 1-800-634-3700. Order now, and you'll receive as a bonus a 2nd bottle of Ari, the amazing Ari Shine, and the Super Chamois absolutely free. Call 1-800-634-3700 or send check or money order to Ari, P.O. Box 480, Cresskill, New Jersey, 07626. And remember, Ari comes with a 100% money-back guarantee. Call 1-800-634-3700 now.
It's time for the restart of the National Auto Supply 358 Championship for modified cars. I'm Steve Evans with Brock Yates and Paul Page. And let's hope this lap is a little cleaner than the one we tried earlier, Brock.
Well, this man is certainly hoping that, because that is Jeff Hetzler, started on the pole and advanced to the back of the pack when he cut down a tire during that little spin that Doug Hoffman had that brought the caution out. All right, we have got a green as Brett Hearn in the red and white 6 automobile out of Vernon, New Jersey. It's a great start. Blows him away down the front straightaway. Right behind him, C.D. Colville. Billy Pouch tucked in behind Colville in the 3rd position.
And look at the white 74 of Jeff Hetzler move through this field. Closing on the 15 car, the white machine of Jim Chenette.
Okay, he'll duck in behind Chenette for a while and pick his way down that very narrow back straightaway as Brett Hearn comes down into turn number 3, still holding a good wide lead over C.D. Colville. Hearn, one of the very quick young men in this kind of racing, apparently unchallenged at this particular point as we get a look at the interval. Back to Jeff Hetzler, way in the middle of the pack. There he is, trying to duck his way through some of the slower cars in that white 74.
And there he goes, right by Chris Moore in the 7 car, closing in on Roger Lalonde and Danny Heber in the 11 machine. Boy, I'll tell you what, Hetzler is on the move. But you'll notice how careful he is when he goes through turn 2. He doesn't want to make the same mistake Hoffman did. Here's one against the wall that'll bring out the yellow.
That is Newt Hartman in the 026. He's over there in turn number 3, at the entrance of turn number 3. That will help Hetzler, of course. It'll close this field up and get him a little bit closer to Hearn. All right, as the caution waves, earlier, Paul Page had a look at the rather complex braking system on these cars.
As we take a look down in the cockpit here of Marty Knowles' number 6 machine, you see a lot of hydraulics on the left-hand side of the driver. Those are the master cylinders for the brakes. Normally, they'd be up by the brake pedal, but on these cars, they want to use the brakes to help set the car into the corner. So they have that red thumb wheel that allows them to control brake bias front to rear. That is to say, they can adjust whether the front or the rear of the car has more or less brakes. Now, let's take a look up here at the front end of the car. The twins are working, making their last-minute adjustments to the machine. And you see some real serious suspension. Regular beam axle, coil-over, shock and spring assembly, nice solid sway anti-roll bar, and then the brakes themselves in the front continue to be a matter of control. As a matter of fact, sometimes they'll even shut off the supply to the right front brake caliper, doing all the braking here at the left front. That helps turn the car into the corner that much quicker. Well, how do they like running at Syracuse? Well, you can see by the fun meter, it's a 10.
Yeah, but Paul, they're still using an old mechanical fun meter. Our electronic model only has it as a 9.5.
I'm not sure whether Jeff Hetzler would agree, Steve. He is back there in 22nd place after having started on the pole. I would think he probably put this at about a 2 right now.
I'm sure you're right. Here's how it looks up front, though. Hearn, Colville, Pouch, Tremont, and Chrisman. And they are followed by Ritchie, Botcher, Hager, LaFrance, and Glenski. That's the top 10. And they all know, too, Brock, that if they let Brett Hearn get away, they'll never catch him. He is one of the most talented men and versatile drivers that we've run across.
Oh, absolutely. And he's got that number 6 really hooked up right now. As he comes down, leads him down on the inside there. That's C.D. Colville sitting right behind him. But so far, Hearn has been able to command this race after 2 restarts. Here we go. We're under green, and Hearn in the red and white 6. He launches down the front straightaway, and one more time just moves out to a commanding lead.
followed by C.D. Colville, the 44J white machine, Billy Potts in his red car number 126, and Bud Crispin in the 18 car, the yellow machine, moves into third.
Going well, Crispin is, for sure, as they go down the back straightaway.
Let's check in on Jeff Hetzler, the 74 car. He is still on the move. He is around easily the 12 machine of Curtis Van Pelt, and now strikes a blow against Bill Terry, the 44 car. Whoops, he tried to.
Bobbled there, had to get out of the throttle. I wonder if he's cut down a tire on that. He is definitely coming toward the pits. Yes, the left front is down. He hit Cherry in the rear, apparently, and cut down the left front tire. So Jeff Hetzler, boy, I'll tell you what, nothing but trouble for the pole sitter here at the beginning of this race.
Well, Jeff Hetzler just kind of rolled the dice. Maybe made some moves he wouldn't try if he was up front and going through traffic, trying to charge to the front. And as you said earlier, Brock, this is just a part of the price you pay for doing business in this league.
All right, here's a crafty move, Steve, by Hetzler. He's waiting at the entrance of the pits to take the caution so he won't go down yet another lap. Now, let's go down to Paul Page, who's in Hetzler's pits.
Well, here comes the 74 car of Jess Holtzler once again. He came in before with right rear problems. Now you can see that there's a problem with the left front as the crew goes to work on the machine, pulling the lugs off. They've got the new tire all set to go. A little problem with the jack, getting the car to stay in the air. Finally, they get the jack fully under the car. Up comes the front end of the machine. This is a terrible break for Jeff because he was doing so well and then had the problem with the right rear. Now they struggle to get this left front off of the car. Jeff was moving back up, still having a problem with the left front of this machine.
Even if they can replace that left front, the car is liable to not handle properly. Just goes to show you can't play bumper cars with open-wheeled racing machines. Stay with us. We'll be back to Syracuse after this.
Wouldn't it be great if you were centering facing the great Garbanzo in the wrestling match of the year? And wouldn't it be great if the sponsor was a beer? A really great beer like Keystone, the fresh cold filtered beer in a can that tastes like beer in a bottle because of Keystone's specially lined can. And wouldn't it be great if Garbanzo excused himself and you left with his manager, the lovely Darlene? Cold filtered Keystone and Keystone Light. Bottled beer taste in a can. Wouldn't that be great?
Saturday.
Guitars every night.
Country legends Waylon Jennings and Tony Joe White star on the American Music Shop. Then, on the Texas Connection, try some good old Texas swing with Asleep at the Wheel. The American Music Shop and the Texas Connection. Saturday starting at 10 Eastern on TNN, the Nashville Network.
Now thumbing your way, it's the Hitchhiker Music Hour, starring Mary Chapin Carpenter, James McMurtry, Darden Smith, Sean Colvin, and the OK. Pick up the Hitchhiker Music Hour, Wednesday, 8 Eastern on TNN.
Listen carefully. This man is using an amazing electronic breakthrough that lets him hear a pin drop across the room. It's the Whisper 2000. Gives you the astonishing experience of super hearing. No more embarrassing complaints when you watch TV.
Can you turn that down?
With Whisper 2000, you don't have to turn up the volume. It's hard to hear in the back seat of the car. Now, sit back and talk comfortably.
Can you hear me back there?
Loud and clear.
Awesome. Totally awesome.
Use Whisper 2000 in theaters. You'll hear every word clearly, comfortably. Similar devices sell for $60, but it's yours now for just $19.95. Here's how to order.
To order, have your credit card ready and call toll-free 1-800-257-0800 or send check or money order for $19.95 plus $4 shipping and handling to Whisper 2000, P.O. Box 10030, Stamford, Connecticut.
The
we've got one more lap to green here at Syracuse on the Big Mile. I'm Brock Yates along with Paul Page and Steve Evans as we watch Brett Hearn and C.D. Coble, who have been trying to get a couple of really clean laps together in this race, Steve, but the guys at the back keep having some problems in bringing out the yellow.
Absolutely. Every time Brett Hearn can open up a few car lanes, all he sees is that yellow flag in the corner, has to get off and bunch back up again. You know, for people around the country, Brock, who might not be that familiar with these East Coast modifieds, there's probably more tracks in this region of the country than anywhere else, and many of these drivers are full-time professionals.
Absolutely. These guys, like all the guys up front here, that's what they do. They earn their living, drive 6-7 times a week all over the East Coast. And now these East Coast modifieds are starting to catch on down in Texas and the southern part of the United States, and they are very durable, popular, and powerful race cars, and really demand a lot from the driver. As we've got a green coming. Look at Hearn blow off to the rest of the pack.
And trouble in the middle of the pack. Big trouble. The 43 car, Tom Hager and 97 Steve Botcher, have blocked wheels, and that again will bring out the yellow.
Well, that's kind of a prototypical accident here at Syracuse, Steve, because as turn 4 opens out into that very wide front straightaway, a lot of guys try to make a move on the outside before it's time because there just isn't any room down in there. I'm sure that's what happened when probably Hager tried to get outside and just hooked the wheel, and there it goes. Everybody tied up now.
Well, it may take cutting torches to untangle this mess, so while we wait, let's go to Paul Page.
Well, out much earlier than I think he would have wanted, Jeff. We're sorry to see you out so quick. You had two different problems. First, tell us about the right rear.
Well, I don't really know what happened. It went down on the start. Must pick something up in the track. And the second time, just coming back through the pack. You know, we are fast, and the slower cars, I kind of misjudged, got in the back of somebody with the left front tire and jammed that in the car and flattened that.
Extra disappointing on a race as important as here at Syracuse.
Oh, yes, especially after we've done so well all week. You know, everybody worked so hard. This is the race, you know. Let it finish. You know, we would have been right in the front, but one of those days, you know, you can't win them all, I guess.
We're sorry it ended that way. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Paul, this field, by the way, is still under caution. Here we see them down into turn number 4. It's going to be a little bit before we get a restart, so let's see what Brock is up to.
I'm with Steve Betcher, who was involved in that deal. And Steve, how did it get started?
One of the cars that got slowed down a little on the start, he decided to cut down to the fast lane, and I was there. I got my right front taken off, and that sent me going, and that started the whole thing.
Well, you're right in the middle of just coming off at turn number 4. You guys are hard on it, right, for the restart at this point?
Yeah, you're flat out in the middle of the turn already, so we're going pretty fast at this point.
No place to go at Syracuse. Pretty narrow here.
Once you start heading for the wall, it's all over.
Well, I know you guys are disappointed, but I'm sure we'll see you back again.
We'll be back.
Good luck, Steve.
Thanks.
Glad you're okay.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go over to Steve, who's right near me in the middle of this mess.
Well, still, they try to pry these cars apart here in turn number 4. Brock, John Madgen in the 29 car. He is still in that machine. I don't believe he could get out if he wanted to, and I think he's probably of more help sitting in there and handling the brakes and the steering wheel even when they get them separated.
Unfortunately, these cars are pretty safe. A lot of body work and a very sturdy roll cage to protect the drivers. So not a whole lot of danger of injury here, despite the high speeds here at Syracuse. We'll be back for the restart of the National Auto Supply 358 Championship right after this.
All of these championship-winning drivers have one thing in common: Goodyear Racing Eagles. The race-winning technology that's found in the Goodyear Racing Eagles can also be found in the world's best-selling line of high-performance street tires, Goodyear Eagle Street Radials. The champions know, and it's why we say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
You got 68 candles, 68 pets, 68 series, a 68 vet. Well, you can take your 68 to 86 with the rest, 'cause Greyhound is 68 or less. Yeah!
Now you can
can go Greyhound anywhere Greyhound goes for just $68 or less.
So listen up, cause and don't miss the bus. Greyhound is 68 or less. Pour it in, pour it on. Pour in the Kendall and pour it on.
Now get $3 off every time you buy a case of Kendall's most popular motor oil. Pour it in and pour it on.
And pour it on.
And now the great Nolan Ryan demonstrates his pitching technique.
The big metal shaver. It's great.
How about that? And you know, Jim, it's pitches like that that'll get him into the Hall of Fame.
Boy, you said it, Mel.
Howard Moore, writer for Entertainment Weekly, says about fishing shows on TNN, it's family programming with no guns, no drugs, car chases, or cheap sexual humor. Fishing shows are charming, with pleasant people who sincerely like fishing and who want to see this old world preserved instead of wrecked and poisoned. Thank you, Mr. Moore. We couldn't have said it better. From TNN, the heart of country.
We're still under caution here at Syracuse in the Super Dirt Spectacular. Nobody is blaming the Moody Mile for all the crashes we've seen today. It's just a lot of very eager drivers in some very fast machines. Let's go to Paul Page.
Well, here's Tom Hager, driver of the 43 car. What happened down there on that restart?
Well, we come down on start. Everything was good. We come up off in the middle of the corner. We were on side by side. And I seen the nose of Botcher right there. Next thing I seen his car lunge forward, and he got caught under my left rear and sent me for, you know, a ride and started the whole thing off.
You came back here in the car, perhaps with a hope that it might go, but it doesn't look like it.
Yeah, I broke the torsion bar off left rear, the suspension. There's no way of getting it fixed.
All right, so Tom Hager, the 43 car, is out.
As are a number of other competitors, including Doug Hoffman and Jeff Hetzer, two guys that had a major chance to win this one, Steve.
You know, Brock, these drivers generally run on small racetracks, going at much slower speeds where they can lean on each other and push each other around a bit without the results we're seeing today. Do you think that's part of it?
Oh, it's possible. As I said, though, earlier, look at how narrow that back straightaway is. It's barely 4 cars wide at best, and when you're running 140, 150 miles an hour, there is no room for error. As we watch Brett Hearn one more time bury the throttle in that red and white number 6, off turn number 4 to lead it. Boy, I wonder if Hearn can hold on for a while now.
Boy, he's got to be wondering the same thing. And at the same order, C.D. Colville, the 44J car, in the second spot, already a couple of lengths back. And getting real sideways there was the 126 car, Billy Pouch.
Billy Pouch almost got it up against the fence as he has really been tussling with Kenny Tremont all the way through this. Pouch, of course, was started on the outside of the front row and has fallen back into 4th place now. So Billy Pouch is, I would imagine, pretty frustrated, but not so with Brett Hearn, who's been showing enormous muscle here right from the start.
Boy, are they fighting just behind him, though, for that 3rd position. Number 87, Kenny Tremont in the white and yellow car. Billy Pouch, the red, number 126. 18, Bud Chrisman, another yellow car. That's where the action is right now. There's Chrisman trying to move up on Pouch in the 126 car.
Well, there are a couple of New Jersey drivers and competed against each other for years, both real pros, as that Pouch always looks a little bit loose, though, all the way around this racetrack, Steve. Look at him. Just doesn't seem to be able to get hooked up down inside, tight on an inside rail where the quick line appears to be.
And there's so many things that could contribute to that you couldn't even hazard a guess. Look, oh, boy, you're absolutely right. He is really dirt tracking it around.
That's not the fast way around Syracuse, which is after it gets run in a little bit, it gets more like asphalt. So you want a car that pushes just a little bit. You don't want one that is as loose as Pouch. As Pouch really working that car, as you say, more like he's running on half-mile dirt as opposed to a very flat, hard racetrack on this big mile.
And the track isn't going to get any better as far as traction is concerned. If anything, it'll get a little more slippery. All right, looking back a ways, here's the 2 cars contending for the 10th spot, the 714 car of Billy Schenkel. That's a white machine. And Mike Ricci, the 14J, the red and white car. He must have fallen back a bit during that crash, Brock.
I think he did. The 12 car, that's Curtis Van Pelt. That automobile, he's right in the middle of that and running pretty well, though.
Billy Schenkel, currently running 10th, is so typical of these drivers who have come from all over the eastern seaboard. He's from coastal Pennsylvania to compete in the biggest weekend there is in dirt track racing as far as money is concerned. And here is 14J Mike Ricci. He is going to take the 10th spot away from Billy Schenkel and close in on 12 Curtis Van Pelt.
Nice move. That is a classic pass here at Syracuse. You just bury it down inside as you go into either turn 1 or turn 3. And just outbrave the man. Here he goes again. Tried it again, but it didn't work this time. Mike almost got by the 12 car, but Curtis Van Pelt shut the door on him as they went down into turn number 3.
And you can see the sheen that this racetrack is starting to develop as more and more rubber is applied to it. And some of these crew chiefs figure the best way to approach this race is to let the track come to them. Maybe start off with a tire and a suspension combination that isn't quite right for the early laps, but it's going to be perfect when you get to this point.
Well, it's always a game of guesswork, though, with any kind of dirt track racing, because a track like Syracuse or any other dirt track, for that matter, can come right back and bite you, and it's always a crapshoot for even the most experienced drivers, as we watch Mike Ricci nip by Curtis Van Pelt in the 12 car.
You know, nobody is more fascinated by tires and chassis set up on dirt tracks than our good buddy Paul Page. And earlier from here in Syracuse, he filed this very report.
Well, when you take a close look at one of these cars, it reminds a guy like me of the old IndyCar days with the Roadsters. For example, if you look at the back end, you'll see that they have the weight, the cockpit and engine assembly offset to the left. Now, they also use stagger on these cars. Now, that is to say that the circumference of the right rear tire is about 5 inches more than on the left rear. It helps drive the power of the car into the corner faster. They use Goodyears, they use McCreary, they use Hoosier tires here. Very straightforward tread design, but interesting up at the front of the car, again, you'll find stagger in use. That is to say the circumference of this tire is about 2.5 inches more than over on the left front. And they say that helps the car point into the corner more efficiently. All in all, they're very technological little machines.
Well, right now, Paul, the man who seems to have it hooked up as well as anybody is 14 Mike Ricci. He is now challenging for 6th spot. Ricci has just powered his way through the field. Obviously, he's got the setup. As you said earlier, Steve, he let the racetrack come to him with his tire combination.
The man he's trying to pass, Randy Glensky, is not running a 358 motor. He's got a 320, but that means he can have some modifications the bigger engines can't, so it's probably a push.
Basically a little lighter automobile, and that certainly is an advantage on shorter tracks, although I would imagine if you had the choice, you'd want the big power here at Syracuse.
And here is 44J C.D. Colville into the pits. Another tire problem, another cut left rear tire.
Well, as I said earlier, there's a lot of sheet metal on these automobiles, and as they get bumping and banging on that back part where it's real narrow, they're bound to shed some bits and pieces, and that's going to cut tires. Too bad for C.D. Colville, because he was in the 2nd position. He sat right behind Brett Hearn on every restart. Couldn't seem to get up to Hearn, but was very much holding everybody off in 2nd.
Well, Brock, that lightweight you talked about for Randy Glensky may be helping him right now. The 28 car has gotten around 18 Bud Christman for the 4th position. So it's Glensky in 4th, Christman in 5th, and Mike Ricci, 14J, in the 6th spot, but he's not happy with that.
He sure isn't. Ricci has got his sights set on Christman for that 5th spot. Now, here you see him. There's the 28 automobile of Glensky. Right behind him, Christman. And in the 3rd car, that is Ricci. And Ricci in the 14J, that red automobile, is hooked right in behind Christman, trying to make a move on him as they come off turn number 4 down the front straightaway. All right, there's Ricci down to the inside. He's going to try to take Christman on the inside. Christman closes the door. No chance there. Ricci goes a little bit wide as they come down through turn number 2, and that will basically hold Ricci off, I would imagine, down the back straightaway, as Christman's car is going to get awful wide as they head into turn 3.
Absolutely, Brock. And with the track in this good a condition, it gives each driver a chance to really demonstrate his ability. You can't complain about bumps or ruts. This is as good as we have ever seen the so-called Moody Mile.
Yeah, it's in great shape today as we watch these 3 cars. That, of course, Glensky, Christman, and Ricci sitting back there in the 4th, 5th, and 6th positions as Brett Hearn continues to dominate the race. This is a good duel, though. Anybody can take over that 4th spot. Glensky, though, in that little 320, managing to hold off the bigger engine automobiles at this particular point.
And next time around, there will only be 2 laps to go. So if anybody's going to make a move on Brett Hearn, they better step on it.
All right, there it is, the signal from the starter. 2 laps remaining.
And there is Brett Hearn in the 6th car. Closest to him is 87, Kenny Tremont. Those are the two contesting for the lead.
And right now, though, Brett Hearn, I'm sure, is just kind of looking over his shoulder and holding Kenny Tremont at bay as he has everybody else right from the opening stages of this race.
Well, I tell you, Brett Hearn gets within inches of that Armco on the inside of this racetrack. Boy, he cuts it so close. Kind of like walking a high wire. But, oh, what a good race car driver. All right, this time around, there is 1 lap to go. Brett Hearn can win this event if he can hang on for less than 1 more mile.
Got a little bit wide there coming off turn number 1 and into turn 2, but gathered it all together down the back straightaway. Brett Hearn, a fine young race driver, the great future as we watch him almost on the way home. Look at this. That's Billy Pouch in 3rd place on fire in turn number 3.
Billy Pouch has had a violent engine explosion. The fire, of course, concerns everyone the most. It appears, though, that it was just an oil fire off of the exhaust and has extinguished itself. But you know what that means? Poor Brett Hearn sees another yellow, and he was a tick of the clock away from the checkered.
Oh, boy. There is a disappointed young man. That not only disappointed because he lost a good finishing position, but that was a very expensive explosion.
Yeah, when you see that much oil and that much fire, it usually means a broken connecting rod and a junk racing engine.
Attention all cat lovers, here it is, the famous collector's watch that is taking the country by storm. It's the Cat and Mouse watch, now available in a special limited edition that comes to you with its own individually numbered certificate of authenticity. The Cat and Mouse watch, what a charming way to keep perfect time. This is the most cherished collectible ever designed as a timepiece. The lovable tabby cat watches alertly as the hour and minute hand keep time. Look, the clever mouse scoots around the face of the timepiece, escaping the cat and marking each second with perfect precision. It gives you seconds just as precisely, but more playfully than other watches. The clever mouse, the telltale cat, combined in an authentic heirloom collectible that is destined to become a cherished possession of every cat lover. And it's lavished with quality features to combine a unique style with amazing accuracy. Genuine Swiss parts and precision quartz movement assure accuracy equal to the most expensive timepieces in the world, but so much more fun. In fact, we guarantee the accuracy of your heirloom watch with a no-nonsense 25-year refund policy. You'll thrill to loving details like the sable gray leatherette strap and the gleaming gold tone case and superb imported quartz movement. Such total perfection, we dare to back this limited edition watch with a 25-year guarantee. You've seen the lovable Cat and Mouse designer watches in leading catalogs at $44 and more. Now, on this special TV offer, you get a genuine Cat and Mouse watch, complete with its own personal and numbered certificate of authenticity. All for the unbelievable price of just $19.99. What a perfect and charming investment. Limit 2 per caller, so don't lose time. Have your credit card ready and call now for rush delivery. To order, have your credit card ready and call 1-800-776-7200 or send check or money order for $19.99 plus $4 shipping and handling to Cat and Mouse Watch, 2000 American Way, Roanoke, Virginia. Or call now, 1-800-776-7200.
Well, there is an extremely disappointed Billy Pouch, the New Jersey professional whose engine blew on the final lap of this 50-lapper while running in 3rd position. And Steve Evans, I'll tell you what, that gives Brett Hearn 1 more restart. I think he's only had about 5 or 6 clean laps.
Well, Brett Hearn has got to be wondering, what are they going to do now? Build a brick wall across the racetrack to keep me from winning this thing? Here it is, the restart of the National Auto Supply 358 Modified Championship. 1 lap to go for Brett Hearn, and just behind Hearn is Kenny Tremont in the 87 car. If Hearn bobbles, Tremont will be there to inherit it.
Right now, Kenny Tremont is looking down that long back straightaway. He's got really 1 more shot to get by Hearn, and that is as they dive down into turn number 3. And Hearn, look at him, tucked inside, right down on that rail. If Kenny Tremont's going to go by him, he's got to go all the way around the outside. He ain't going to do that, Steve.
Now, and Hearn has the better handling race car. At this stage, here he comes down the straightaway for the last time in the checkered flag. Finally, to Brett Hearn, number 6.
dominated this race almost from the start, although he was back in the third position on the starting grid, but he jumped right up front and moved out and was never really seriously challenged.
Kenny Tremont pulls alongside to give him a wave of congratulations. The two put on quite a duel for that last lap, but Hearn obviously had the better machine.
A lot of power. Car really hooked up on this big, nasty mile. You can see some potholes beginning to develop down in the entrance at turn number 3. That is going to be a trouble spot, has been traditionally over the years, as Brad Hearn in that beautiful red and white number 6 Bud Olson automobile comes down to Victory Lane here, which is situated right on the big wide straightaway right in front of the packed grandstand. All right, there are your top 5. Kenny Tremont, and notice that Randy Glenski got up into 3rd place. Mike Ritchie, Bud Crispin fell back to the 5th spot. Still a big payday for him. Shanette, Van Pelt, Hyber, Sloat, and Billy Van Pelt up in the top 10. Now, let's go to Steve with the winner.
Brad Hearn wiggling his way out of the 6th car. Brad, tremendous drive. Just what you needed was a yellow on the last lap, right?
Well, I'll tell you, I couldn't believe they didn't throw that checker, but we put one good lap together at the end, and that's what we needed to do.
First, it was the 44 junior car, Colville. Then it was Kenny Tremont. They really didn't give you a lot of slack.
No, they didn't. They were right there, and they were telling me on the radio, and I wanted to conserve that right rear tire. It's somewhat of an experimental tire. We didn't know it was going to work. But then again, I had to run the car hard, so it was a good test for it.
The automobile performed apparently flawlessly.
Right from the start, the car just went great. I come off of 2 and made a move on Jeff going down the backstretch on the first lap, and then it was just a matter of saving the car, I hope.
Now, you were pretty flawless yourself, but now you get into the big block car, correct?
That's right. Our day is not done yet. We get in that big block car for the Winners Classic, and maybe we can use a little bit of this setup here for the other race, too.
What adjustment do you have to make with more power?
I need a rest right first.
We'll give you one. Congratulations. Okay, let's go to the 2nd place finisher and Paul Page.
Well, here's the 2nd place finisher, Kenny Tremont. Great battle there.
Well, I tried hard. Brett ran real strong. I tried to take it a little bit easy on the tires in the first part of the race, and I think that paid off. So towards the end, we had a little bit more tire to work with. I noticed at the end, Brett was smoking his right rear just a little bit, and then that last caution, I noticed he was blistered up just a touch. So I figured if I could zero in on that a little bit, might be able to pass him, but he had just quite a bit to hold me off.
At 1 lap sprint at the finish there, do you think you had a shot?
Yeah, I was going to try, that's for sure. I don't want to count myself out.
All right, let's go to 3rd place now. Here's Brock.
Well, Randy, good move. Long race, seemed like more than 50 laps, I'll tell you, and but slowly but sure, you worked your way to the front.
Yeah, we started back in the midway of the pack, but the Ryan's Express came through for me. It's been the best ride I've had since my career, and we only got a 320 in the car, and we were shy about 100 horse, but we ran with him. I knew what my strategy was, just to hang in there and try to be there at the end, and it paid off.
With a 320, obviously you're a little lighter and you handle a little better in the corners with these long straightaways. Those big cars eat you up pretty good, huh?
Yeah, the 358's got a lot more torque coming out of the corner, another 100 horse, so, I did my best. I mean, I barely let off in the corner, and that's the only time I made my mind up.
Hook her in there real deep and try to catch him in there, huh?
Right.
Okay, well, good job. Congratulations on a great 3rd place.
Thank you.
So that wraps up the National Auto Supply 358 Championship for the modified cars. Coming up, no small blocks, we go to the Rat Motors, the big block Chevrolets with a heck of a lot more power on what could be a slippery racetrack. Stay with us. It ought to be very interesting.
Me, it's the perfect truck.
Jim Ortballs had a Ford Ranger.
It will handle a load. It will get up and move.
Brian Thompson came home from Toyota.
I like the Dodge Dakota the best.
It just makes me feel good to drive it.
The mid-size Dakota, now available with V8 power.
There's no substitute for cubic inches.
For less money than a 4-liter V6 Ford Ranger.
America, it's about time you gave me something that I needed.
It's a good, sound truck.
Welcome home, America. Come see what we're made of.
I bought the Dodge. Just feels like quality.
Engine repairs can cost you. So remember, Fram oil filters protect your engine better because they stop more dirt the first time through than any other filter. Fram, you can pay a little now or a lot later. The next time your car is in the shop, remember, Fram oil filters protect your engine better because they stop more dirt the first time through than any other filter. Fram, you can pay a little now or a lot later.
From the heart of the country comes our song.
born in America and growing strong. It's about real people, you and me. It's about life and love and family. Listen to the heart of TNN. Listen to the heart of TNN. TNN, the heart of country.
Country music. It means good times, good people. It puts the quick in your step and the beat in your heart. So listen to your heart. It's right here. TNN, the Nashville Network, the heart of country.
Listen to the heart of TNN. Listen to the heart of TNN. TNN, the heart of country.
Welcome back to Syracuse, everyone, where there's a last-second lap tire change going on in the front row on the 6th car of Brett Hearn, who already has won the small block modified title. Now, the race we've talked about all day is at hand. The big block modifieds, the Winners Classic. And there isn't a driver in this field that doesn't have the credentials of a champion. On the pole is Danny Johnson, and he earned that right by winning more qualifying races than anybody else. Danny, you couldn't ask for a better place to start.
There's no doubt about that, boy. I tell you, the guys on the crew, we had a superb season, and, here we are on the pole, and, the car's running strong, and, we're hoping for a real good finish here today.
Right, you weren't in it, but you got to watch the small block race. Did you learn anything from that, maybe about the racetrack or your plans?
This racetrack seems real fast today, and, we're just going to have to go for it and see what happens.
Good luck to you.
All right, thanks.
Okay, well, Brett Hearn will be starting alongside. The tire has been changed. He's climbing in the car. Let's go to Brock Yates with the third-place starter.
Well, Steve, this is Billy Pouch's automobile, another automobile, and as we saw earlier, he had a fire that put him out of that 50-lapper. A terrible piece of luck when he was running right up front, and I know, Billy, you're looking for better results this time around.
Yeah, I hope.
You got to feel terrible when you were running so strong and then suddenly it just goes away. But I guess after all these years in racing, you got to feel a little philosophical about it, don't you? Or don't you ever get over that kind of a disappointment?
Well, it's tough on the last lap when you're in a good paying position and the motor goes, but it was babying it all along because I knew I had an oil leak and I wasn't running flat out. I was trying to hang in there, and then I give it a shot the last couple laps run flat out, and it just wasted the motor.
All the best of luck. Paul?
Well, Brock, here is the 125 car of Doug Hoffman out of Pennsylvania's Lehigh Valley, an area to produce such great racing drivers as Mario and Michael Andretti. And Doug, you were involved in that accident in the 50-lapper. Obviously, this isn't the same car, but how about you? You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. The car suffered a little bit of damage, but this is a different car, so we're in good shape.
A race of winners like this, does it make it that much harder to drive and that much more special to win?
Well, with all the winners starting up front, it is a tough race. This track's real fast today, and it'll be tough to pass on, but it's a good warm-up and a good race.
All right, now let's go on to Steve Evans.
Well, behind the rather folksy image that has been built up over the years for barefoot Bob McCready, there is no finer equipment in modified racing and certainly no finer driver. But you're starting back in 5th. You'd prefer to be a little further to the front.
Well, really, this is about as quick as we are right now, and we've changed some things on the car, hopefully to tighten it up. It's a little loose, and hopefully we're going to get going in this race, but I'm not sure. We're pretty loose right now.
With only 25 laps, this is just a go-for-broke deal.
Yeah, these guys go flat out. You'll find your water level. Whoever's quick will get up front. The guys that aren't quick enough will back up or whatever's going to happen. But when they drop the green, these guys will go for it.
We hope you can get up to the front.
We're going to do the best we can.
You always do. Brock?
Well, Steve, starting back here in the 7th spot is Jeff Hessler. Remember, we saw him run right up front for a few moments and early in that go, and then with all of a sudden some front end problems. A tire went down and front suspension problems, and who knows what else, Jeff. That was a disaster last time. I'm sure you're looking for better results now.
Yeah, hopefully we can get a better ride out of this one. That was kind of like right on the start, the right rear went flat. So that was fine and dandy. We fixed that and started in the rear. Coming up back through, I got into a slower car, I guess, and popped the left front and wrapped the wheel around the caliper, so that put us out for good.
Well, this is a totally different race car. The chassis is pretty similar, but it's just got a bigger motor. And anything else about the race car that's a little bit different in the setup?
No, not really. A different type body style. This one's brand new. This is its maiden voyage. The other one was the car we run all season, so it's a little bit different, but basically the same.
but a bunch more power coming off the corners. That's got to feel good for a race driver.
Yeah, a whole lot of power in this one. This one's about 760 horsepower, where the other's about 570.
Well, that's got to make a difference, and I would think the racetrack's pretty well run in. It looked like he was starting to get that kind of a blue groove, but it's so cool here this afternoon. I wouldn't imagine it's going to get real hard.
No, not really. It's not that bad out there. In hot laps, okay, it was. Once he turned in some pretty good time, so the racetrack's in pretty good shape.
Okay, well, go get him.
Thank you.
Okay. Jeff Hessler. Paul?
Well, the 85 car belongs to New Jersey's Jimmy Horton. He's set and ready to go, but it's back in the 11th starting position. Now, Jimmy, you're a little more accustomed to being up toward the front. On a short race like this, 25 laps, how much of a fight is it going to be?
Well, it's a real big fight because, you know, there's not much of a groove out there, and, you know, there's a lot of good runners up front, so it's hard to pass. So we worked on the handling pretty good, so we might be able to get to the front. It's going to be a tussle.
A little earlier, tires proved to be a problem. Does that concern you?
Not for this short of a race. I think we'll be in good shape with tires. I hope a lot of people guess wrong, go a little soft, but I don't think they will.
Jimmy Horton is ready to go in this race of winners. Steve Evans?
Well, you've heard from the creme de la creme of big block modified racers. The talking's all done. Let the racing begin, and it will when we come back to Syracuse.
Now, back-to-back on stage. Mondays,
Patty Loveless.
Steve Warner.
A full hour of country's hottest stars.
Lee Greenwood.
Holly Dunn.
Mondays are twice as nice.
Danielle Alexander.
The Oak Ridge Boys.
For back-to-back music, it's On Stage, Mondays at 8 and 8:30 Eastern on TNN, the Nashville Network.
Capture the romantic age of motoring with the classic Gazelle. FiberFab International recreates the vintage 1929 Mercedes-Benz SSK. Build your dream today with the affordable classic Gazelle. Call 1-800-328-5671 for more information on the special offering of the classic Gazelle and other timeless classics from FiberFab International. Call now 1-800-328-5671. Imagine the exhilaration of driving the 1952 MGTD, a perfect recreation by FiberFab International of the vintage MGTD. Now you can build your dream today and own the 1952 MGTD at a very affordable price. Call 1-800-328-5671 for more information on the special offering of the 1952 MGTD and other timeless classics from FiberFab International. Call now 1-800-328-5671.
Well, here in Syracuse, it's just about time for a race the modified competitors look forward to all year. The A-Plus Mini Markets Winners Classic. And as we've said before, they all earned a right to participate here. I'm Steve Evans along with Brock Yates and Paul Page, and the field starts to roll. Brock?
Well, as you said earlier, Steve, we've got 25 laps. No strategy here whatsoever. Danny Johnson and Brett Hearn, two of the fine young drivers in this kind of racing. Dirt's two of their great stars. Billy Pouch and Doug Hoffman, excellent runners. Kenny Brightwell and Bob McCready, two real veterans. And, of course, Jeff Hetzler, Steve Evans, hoping that his bad luck for the day is over with.
Well, it couldn't get any worse, I don't think. You know, Brock, the modified cars have never looked any better. The equipment is immaculate since the Drivers Independent Racetracks organization abandoned the old square, flat-top Gremlin-style body and went to some more contemporary shapes. I think it's even helped the grandstands. The fans can identify more with these cars because there's actually, supposedly anyway, Chevrolets and Thunderbirds and various makes and models and body styles out there. And also, with the big block engines, they've got to pay even more attention to the suspension on these cars and the tire combination and the stagger than maybe they do with the lower-powered small block Chevrolet engines we saw earlier on. Years ago, the modifieds had simple friction shocks and leaf springs in the rear. No longer. They have kept pace with technology.
What you're looking at is the rear suspension on Jeff Hetzler's number 74 modified, a pretty standard setup on one of these cars. That's a cross torsion setup, twin torsion bars on the rear that act as they do on an Outlaw Sprinter and most all kind of dirt track cars. Pretty standard setup, as I say. Up front, though, everybody uses a coil-over shock suspension setup, solid front axle, of course, but these coil-over shocks work very effectively, says Jeff, much more so than a torsion bar setup that you might find on some race cars. He says that it gives a much more responsive suspension action in the corners, whereas the torsion bars at the back, he says, give them a kind of lazy action. He likes that, and apparently so do all the other guys, because this is a very basic and standard setup in these kind of automobiles.
And certainly the suspension is important here on the mile in Syracuse, but where they really use it, Brock, is early in the season, the rainy time of the year in the Northeast, when the little tracks they run are like bumpy mattresses. That's when that suspension pays off.
Yeah, they not only have to have a lot of suspension travel in these cars, but they've got to be really strong, because these guys bump and bang in the corners. They're like Outlaws, but they're a little bit heavier cars. And also, Steve, the visibility isn't as good in these automobiles. There's a lot of body work surrounding the drivers, and especially in narrow corners like we have here at Syracuse. You're going to see some touching that we saw there earlier in the race, where I think probably both Hetzler and Hoffman had trouble simply because there just isn't a lot of room for error. You can't see a whole lot outside as you can, say, an Outlaw Sprinter or a Midget that run on similar kinds of racetracks as close together as these guys run.
All right, the pace car is off the racetrack, through turn 3, into turn 4, out of turn 4, and we have a start.
Danny Johnson just muscled his way in front, but now Brett Hearn on the outside charges down into turn number 1, and Danny Johnson with Hearn up high. Johnson stayed low and just moved out on Hearn. Hearn got way up against the fence there, but look at Johnson sideways down the back straightaway. You can see the extra power and punch and torque of these automobiles compared to the small block.
And Bob McCready in that yellow and white number 9 car made a tremendous move on that opening lap. He's in the 3rd spot, and here's a fight for 4. 76 Billy Pouch, Doug Hoffman in 125, Kenny Brightfield in the 19 car, Jeff Hetzler in the 74 car. They are all there for that 4th position.
They sure are. I'll tell you what, Steve, it is dark and cloudy here. These guys almost got to be running, wishing they had headlights here. This is really dark, and these automobiles are really skating around here. This racetrack has gotten nice and hard, and it's cold. The tires are not warming up, I wouldn't imagine, like they would want them to, and we could see some sliding and slipping here as this race continues.
That's right, and I don't believe anybody went to an ultra-soft tire. They didn't want to take the chance of not having rubber to finish this thing with. Everybody was kind of a medium compound.
Boy, there's that wrestling match for 4th place. That's Billy Pouch in the 76, Hoffman in the 125, and right behind him is the 19 of Kenny Brightfield, and Jeff Hetzler sitting back there as well.
Now here is that race for 2nd. That is Brad Hearn in the red and white number 6 car, 9M Bob McCready, the yellow and white machine. Now McCready is running a small block, what the hot runners call a mouse motor. Brad Hearn, of course, as everybody else does, has what they call a rat motor, the big 454 Chevrolet. And look at this, they're side by side for that 4th position. Doug Hoffman, the 125 car, challenging 76 Billy Pouch.
Now look at Pouch got way outside, and Hoffman drove right underneath him to take over that position, and Brightfield also making his move. So Hetzler also right in that pack, but the loser in that deal was Billy Pouch, who got way up against the fence in turn 1. And you don't want to be up there, Steve.
Now, so 4th now is Hoffman, followed by Brightfield, Hetzler, and Horton.
This is strictly a 1-groove corner down here in turn number 1, and Billy tried to make it 2 grooves. There they go. There is Hoffman in the 125 car. He got a little wide, too. Boy, is that a freight train, though. All 4 of those guys almost dead even in terms of performance.
And to pass, you've really got to pick the perfect spot. You'd rather do it with horsepower down the straightaway if you can, because the grooves are so narrow in the corner. You see any driver try to pass in the turn, he gets up high against the wall, scrubs up a lot of speed, and costing 2 or 3 positions.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You saw Pouch obviously regretting that move, that is, he got way outside. As the race for 4th place continues, Kenny Brightfield sitting there in 5th spot. A real veteran out of Sinking Spring, Pennsylvania. Kenny Brightfield, real favorite in this kind of racing. You know, these guys are very, very confident of these race cars. They can stick them in and out of really harrowing positions and be pretty confident that if they get into trouble, they're going to be okay. These are very, very safe automobiles. Earlier, Steve had a look at a unique safety feature on one of these cars.
Here's a scary scenario for you. You're hurtling around this big track, over 100 miles per hour, racing in tight quarters, challenging for position. Suddenly, your engine develops a miss. You glance down at the instruments just for a moment, but that's all it takes for you to miss the yellow flag coming out, and you pile into an accident up ahead. That has happened, and Dirt hopes it never happens again, thanks to this system, the Race Safe. They're the only sanctioning body that requires it on all cars. See this antenna? Whenever the yellow comes out, also a radio wave is sent to all the machines, picked up by this, which in just a few moments will be installed on Jimmy Horton's car, and that immediately illuminates this giant yellow light that no driver could miss. When it's safe again to go racing and the green comes out, the small green light comes on.
Great idea. Like to see that in all kinds of automobile racing. Terrific safety component, Steve.
Better yet, no yellow flags at all. Look at this fight for second spot. The red and white car number 6 of Brett Hearn with the big block engine, and the small block yellow and white 9M of Bob McCready is matching wheels with him, Brock. This is incredible.
Well, the car really is hooked up well. Notice how McCready stays low, can hold that low groove. And Brett, with that bigger, heavier automobile, although a lot torquier down the straightaway, he seems to be able to pull a little bit on Bob, but McCready just ducks right down inside and moves right up on his Nerf bar. Although there you see Bob Krause, a lap car, getting in the way a little bit, slowed up McCready somewhat as they came off turn number 2. And it gave Brett Hearn a little breathing room.
And here's the integral back to the 4th position, Doug Hoffman in the 125 car. So he's got a lot of ground to make up and not much time to do it.
All right, here is your race for the 5th position. That's Bright Bill, 19. There is Hetzler in the 74. Right behind him, the 85 of Jimmy Horton. And they, too, are moving in on Bob Krause in the 35. So he is suddenly in the eye of a hurricane with 3 very competitive and very quick drivers scrambling around on his Nerf bar. Krause will move out of the way down the back straightaway and let these guys through.
Is it my imagination, Brock, or is maybe the racing groove getting a little bit wider in the corners, or are they just being more daring?
Well, I don't know. It doesn't look like Bob McCready is having a whole lot of trouble holding the car down inside, but everybody else seems to be, as you say, moving a little bit outside. Is the Moody Mile going to strike back at some of these people? Stay with us. We'll be back at Syracuse.
Big news from AT&T. Now you can get 1 free hour of high-quality AT&T long distance and enjoy special savings 24 hours a day. Just call this toll-free number and ask for the AT&T Reach Out America plan. Reach Out America gives you an additional 25% discount starting at 5 p.m. So you'll get the biggest discount during the best time to call. But that's just the beginning. The AT&T Reach Out America plan also gives you a 10% daytime discount.
Great.
Plus an hour of weekend and night calls, so you can call all across America for one low price.
Oh, my assistant just brought me a copy of the budget.
To order the AT&T Reach Out America plan, call 1-800-637-2535. You'll get a 25% discount off our already low prices from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. An hour of weekend and night calls, plus our daytime discount. It all adds up to savings 24 hours a day.
Hi, Grandma. Yes, I'm fine, and so is Harry.
And it costs just $8.70 a month. Order the AT&T Reach Out America plan now, and we'll give you 1 free hour of long distance plus a special $5 savings. To order, call 1-800-637-2535. Need another reason?
Entao, Maria. Queda de nuevo.
The plan also includes an international discount at no extra charge.
I'll be there tomorrow.
You can even get an option that lets you save on calls away from home. Call 1-800-637-2535 for your free hour. And save on quality AT&T long distance, day and night. AT&T, the right choice.
Why do I love country music? Let me count the ways. Rodney Crowell, Vince Gill, Merle Haggard, Lyle Lovett, Doug Stone, Randy Travis, and my big sister, who keeps sending me tapes. Sis, do you have any Clint Black?
We're back in Syracuse, New York, and what a big block modified show we are seeing. The A-Plus Mini Market Winners Classic. I'm Steve Evans along with Brock Yates and Paul Page, and there's your leaders, 27J Danny Johnson, followed by Brett Hearn, the red and white number 6 car, and Bob McCready in 9M. What a surprise he is.
Well, McCready, as you said earlier, has got a small block and able to use the lighter chassis, better handling chassis, more nimble automobile to its advantage here on this sneaky, big, treacherous racetrack in Syracuse.
Brett Hearn is not only a very versatile and winning race car driver, he's a tremendous ambassador for motorsports overall. He's one of those guys you could literally pick anywhere.
Sure could. Danny Johnson right now, though, is taking Brett Hearn apparently to the checkered flag because he has led right from the start, and Brett Hearn has not been able to move up on him. In fact, I think he's more concerned with the man behind him in that yellow and white automobile, Bob McCready. And I wonder, Steve, you know, with that lighter car, will tires become a factor here? These guys have been running absolutely on the edge for this entire 25 laps, and it could be that that lighter automobile of McCready's will show up with less tire wear in the final few laps.
Well, even the fans, Brock, I think, can see in the corners a little bit of tire smoke coming off of the right rear of Brett Hearn's, that heavier automobile.
There you can see the 3 lead automobiles have established almost a full straightaways lead over the 4th place car of Doug Hoffman. Right behind him is Kenny Brightbill, then the 74 Jeff Hetzler, and 85 Jimmy Horton has moved into that little pack too, but they've got a long, long way to go if they're going to challenge either McCready or Alan Johnson or Brett Hearn up there in the top 3 spots.
Well, Jeff Hetzler in the 74 car is trying to make up some ground on Kenny Brightbill in that number 19. Brightbill is in the 5th position as they head down in to turn number 1. The first car you see there is Brightbill, and he goes high. That allows Hetzler to come underneath him. Now it's Brightbill coming back and retakes his position.
Well, he nicked Hetzler apparently on the right front. Jeff got out of the throttle real quick and has fallen back. I wonder if he did some damage to the automobile. Apparently has slowed up a little bit as we watch Danny Johnson, your leader, bobble just a little bit as he heads down into turn number 1. There is Hearn right behind him, and McCready in the 3rd spot. Those 3 drivers have established a strong position out front here and don't seem to be able to challenge each other. Danny Johnson now has about a 10-car length lead, and more than that, a clear racetrack ahead. Uh-oh, here's Hetzler in the 74 into the pits. He apparently did hurt that car, maybe cut down a tire in that little tangle with Brightbill in turn 2, Steve.
Apparently so, Brock. The pit lane has been a very familiar piece of real estate today, unfortunately, for Jeff Hetzler and his number 74 car. But having a heck of a lot better luck is Brett Hearn and Bob McCready running in 2nd and 3rd. The yellow car is in 3rd. Yellow and white, that's McCready. How far back is 4th position? Well, there he is, number 125, Doug Hoffman in 4th, followed by Brightbill, the 19 car in 5th. Jimmy Horton, the 85 car, in 6th.
Oh, this is a tough proposition for everybody except Hoffman because the other 2 guys almost perfectly matched in terms of performance, straightaway speed, and handling. And somebody has got to bobble here to change positions in this little trio.
Or somebody has got to take a great big chance. Kenny Brightbill in the 19 car tries to get down underneath 125 Doug Hoffman, but can't quite make that work.
But look at Horton, a beautiful pass on the outside of Brightbill. Brightbill backed out of the throttle just for a moment. It was an opportunity that Jimmy Horton seized in one of the finest passes we've seen here today.
Oh, yeah, that is just good heads-up race car driving. And, you know, fans who are maybe more accustomed to asphalt stock cars, I mean, look at these modifieds and say, boy, they sure kind of look strange. Well, there's nothing really strange about them. The shape of those bodies are very, very critical to the performance of the automobiles. And earlier, Brock had a look at why they do the things they do.
Well, as in all kinds of racing, aerodynamics play a giant role here, of course, in this kind of modified racing. And the secret, of course, is to pass as much air through these side pods on either side of the race car. Of course, it's the center cockpit. But here in the back, this is where the dirt rules get really critical. They are very, very rigid in terms of the amount of space that you get between the roof line and this flat surface, what might be the trunk in a normal car. What you're trying to do, obviously, is to get as much air passage through here and up against these spoilers on the back, which are, again, very rigidly governed in terms of height off the ground and the amount of spoiler height that you get. Obviously, the more spoiler you get, the more downforce you get on the back of the car and the better handling. But dirt is really tough about how much space you get here. These cars have to be 62 inches off the ground to the roof to the ground. It's pretty high, really. So these kind of tall automobiles, but it permits the engine builders like and the chassis builders like this Tobias chassis to make an automobile that gives an awful lot of ground effects for very, very little effort. Pretty impressive piece of work.
And all those rules and regulations translate into the kind of racing that has fans addicted all over the Northeast. All right, Jimmy Horton now challenging for that 4th position, trying to get Doug Hoff in the 125 car. That's Horton in the 85 machine. And he's right alongside him, Brock.
Well, he did. He got underneath Hoffman as they came off turn number 2. Hoffman got a little wide, and that's all Horton needed to take over that position. Okay, let's go down to the pits with Paul Page and Jeff Hetzler.
Well, Jeff's just climbed out of the car. Second time today we've had to talk to you a little too early. What happened there?
Nothing really, nothing. This race here, only the top 3 spots pay, and we went to halfway. You know, looked like we wasn't able to get to the top 3.
A little more prudent, save that race car.
Yeah, that's the truth.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
As the laps start to wind down, things get real serious up front. 27J Danny Johnson has Brett Hearn just a couple of lengths back in the 6th car. And look at McCready. The small block Chevrolet goes inside of Brett Hearn. Hearn has got to be in shock.
Oh, it's exactly the spot that Jimmy Horton nailed Doug Hoffman just a couple of laps earlier. But now, look at McCready. He has broken away a little bit from Brett Hearn. Hearn is a little bit wormy. I think maybe that tire factor we talked about could be having an effect on him.
Now, I'll tell you, McCready is hooked up so hard in turns 1 and 2 particularly that he actually has daylight under the left front tire, all out Wing sprint cars.
Oh, boy. He is, I'm sure, the way he put it on Brett Hearn right now, he has a feeling maybe he can run down Danny Johnson for the lead. Well, you know, these 3 guys, Danny Johnson, Bob McCready, and Brett Hearn, are stars in an organization that has risen out of upstate New York and in a phenomenal style over the last few years. It's generated packed grandstands and great racing all over the East Coast.
The pictures you're seeing have nothing really to do with the program we bring you today. You're inside the mobile video unit owned by the DIRT organization itself, which produces a weekly half-hour television program seen in over 20 states. Now, no one would have thought this possible back in the early 70s when dirt track racing in the Northeast was totally stagnant. Enter a young man named Glenn Donnelly, who leased a local down-on-its-luck racetrack to run some snowmobile races in the wintertime. They were fun and successful, and Glenn thought, hey, I'll organize a big dirt track race in the summertime. He found out you couldn't do that because every track had its own set of rules. All you could run were your own cars and drivers. The show was the same every week, so the grandstands weren't exactly full either. Well, in 1972, at the end of the season, Glenn organized a race right here in Syracuse with kind of a loose, common set of rules. It was successful. In the next few years, more and more promoters started understanding Glenn's philosophy and adopted that same set of rules. In 75, Drivers Independent Racetracks was formed, and the rest is history. Now there's over 23 tracks, an annual winter tour of Texas and Florida, dozens of drivers making a living on the surface they like best, dirt, and most importantly, all summer long, the grandstands are overflowing.
Everything's packed. The dirt's packed, the drivers' pockets are packed, and the grandstands are packed. Everybody doing just fine in this organization, Steve.
And here's an example of dirt track racing at its very best. 27J Danny Johnson, the orange and white car, being chased by one of the all-time crowd favorites, Bob McCready, the yellow and white 9M.
from just up the road in Watertown, New York. Bob McCready grew up around this racetrack. He knows his way around, and if anybody can nose in on Danny Johnson, it's that man in that yellow and white automobile. But I'll tell you what, if he's going to do it, he better do it now. He's got 1 mile left.
That's right, the white flag signifies the last lap of the spectacular, what was supposed to be a big block event that nobody told Bob McCready. That's a small block Chevrolet, and look at this. He's coming up on Danny Johnson.
Off turn number 2 and down. He noses down inside into turn number 3. He is going to get into the lead. He will take the lead from Danny Johnson. What a pass.
And the grandstands have exploded for Bob McCready.
He sat back until the second to last corner to take it away from Danny Johnson. What a shocking move on the part of Bob McCready. Brilliant pass.
And when I talked to Bob McCready in the car before the start of this event, he really undersold his chances, Brock. He wasn't at all optimistic. A ploy?
I don't know. But, boy, he sure put it on Danny Johnson, and that ain't easy. Bob McCready wins it on the final lap.
All of these championship-winning drivers have one thing in common: Goodyear Racing Eagles. The race-winning technology that's found in the Goodyear Racing Eagles can also be found in the world's best-selling line of high-performance street tires, Goodyear Eagle Street Radials. The champions know, and it's why we say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
For quality, America is coming home to Dodge. John Gallo never owned an American car in his life. Frederick Wallace came back from Chevrolet.
Dodge come a long way.
One by one, America is coming home, and the quality is evident in every car and truck rebuild.
It just has a feel like it's going to last a long time.
Quality backed up for 7 years or 70,000 miles.
This car is reliable.
Welcome home, America. Come see what we're made of.
I've realized that Dodge is a good product. I'm satisfied.
Great concert.
Great crowd.
What it does to me.
Hershey's wants to do something nice to you, too.
Enter the Hershey sweepstakes.
Send your name, address, and telephone number to this address.
The grand prize winner will win a trip for 2 to see us in concert, plus backstage passes.
Entries must be received by October 3rd, and the winner will be announced October 8th on the new Video PM.
Enter today.
What it does to me.
Pure water. Mrs. Reagan believes it's what makes her homemade stews and soups taste so good. Jerry Bailey told his son Nate it's why the bass grow so big in the creek. And if it weren't for fresh, pure water, old Mr. Morris says his wife Marie wouldn't have such soft hands. Pure water. Please keep it clean. Pure water means pure country. A public service message from TNN.
Day. Guest host Gary Morris, along with Eddie Rabbitt, Tom T. Hall, and Johnny Carver, pay special tribute to the men and women of our armed forces in the Middle East. It's an all-star salute. Nashville Now, Tuesday on TNN.
Well, there you have it, the rather shocking results at Syracuse in the A-Plus Mini Market Winners Classic. Bob McCready takes Danny Johnson on the final lap. Brett Hearn in third. Jimmy Horton got by Doug Hoffman right near the end as well to take over fourth spot. Frank Causey, Kenny Tremont, Rich Urich, Ray Bateman Jr., and Paul Latier round out the top 10. And now let's go down to Steve Evans with a man who nosed out Dapper Danny Johnson.
Well, Dapper Danny was smooth, all right, for 24 and a half laps. And it was Barefoot Bob that tiptoed around. Great, thrilling finish.
We just got stronger, you know. Car was good.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, the guys did a nice job.
Were you pacing yourself, or did the race just kind of come to you?
It came to me. The track did. It got a little bit looser and looser, and car came around.
I'll let you get your breath.
Okay. I just, you know, Ron Hutter, it's a small block motor, and that's a small block, you know, it's unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Brock.
Okay, you bet. Oh, can you believe it, Brock? Brock's was second.
Well, Danny Johnson out of the automobile, I'm sure a little bit frustrated, but tires probably went away.
No, we lost a cylinder in the motor or something. The motor lost a lot of power.
That was the only way it was going to catch you because you were really hooked up. It looked like you were just breaking out of the pack, and then all of a sudden you started to slow up a little bit. We didn't see any smoke, though.
No, he got by me there on the back straightaway. I just, lost a lot of speed there on the straightaway, and, the car's working good through the turns, so, no matter getting her going, we'll be there.
Okay. We're sorry you lost her on the last lap.
That's all right.
And now let's go to Paul with a third-place finisher.
Well, here's the third-place Brett Hearn. Great little fight with McCready throughout that race.
Yeah, we sure did. He was right there, and I thought we had to run at Danny for a while there, but our car was a little bit too tight, and the front end got away from me a little bit, and that let him get by me and gave him a shot at Danny.
Is it very special running in a race like this with all winners?
Well, yeah, it is. These are the guys we run with week in and week out all summer long. They're the best in the business, and this lets us show each other our own muscle here a little bit.
All right, there's third place, Brett Hearn. Congratulations.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Brock Yates, they call this place the Moody Mile. And I think its mood today was mellow.
Well, and decidedly upbeat right at the end when Bob McCready's fans went crazy with their man winning on the final lap.
And that, of course, was in the Winners' Classic. But let's not forget Brett Hearn's terrific victory in the 358 Championship. For Brock Yates and Paul Page, I'm Steve Evans. Thanks for joining us at the Super Dirt Spectacular.
The executive producer for American Sports Cavalcade is Harvey M. Palish. Produced and directed by John B. Mullen. A promotional consideration provided for and a fee paid by this special offer from Diamond P.
For 7 seasons, Diamond P Sports' award-winning American Sports Cavalcade series on TNN has brought